All right, we're back. Welcome back to Rudy's World / the Crimson Ghost Mask Room. Boy, I did it. I did the TV show shoot 3 days ago, and it went amazing. I had the whole crew here for about 10 hours. Talked about all kinds of masks. They have great footage they shot of the mask room with these amazing cameras. It should be really, really cool. I set up some of my friends for the shoot that were not set up down here in the basement yet. So I got some life-size monsters here in the background. As you can see, I've got some vintage Fangoria, Famous Monsters magazines, Monster Worlds, all on display. All on display here. So yeah, of course, in the middle of me talking, the battery goes dead. So I got the main light on here. What I'm going to show you is things I set up for the television shoot we just did, and part of the basement that's done. All right, I'm still working on the whole tiki bar thing, which is looking really wild over there. However, these guys behind me are not staying here. They may be in other parts of the basement or nearby, but that's going to be a bathroom. That's going to be a wine cellar, like cooler, walk-in wine room over there. So I need my wine. So this is kind of temporary, but it looks amazing. Like, these things looked so damn cool, lit up. And uh-oh. I thought the crew would love it when they saw it, the TV crew. They did. We kept it up the whole time. We did interviews in front of this. It looks really neat behind me. And the people that were involved with the shoot. So we're not here to talk about that, though. We are here to show you my vintage trick shop display. My trick shop wall is done, and it's so cool. Like, cooler than I could have imagined it turning out, okay? The pinball machines are up. I still have 3 or 4 different machines being like restored and worked on, some Target games. So the setup of the machines I'm going to show you right now is kind of temporary, but it looks really freaking neat, but not as cool as this trick shop. This is honestly, I've outdone myself on this, and I knew I bought a lot of stuff over the years, but as I kept unpacking it for this display, and the more I started setting it up, I was like, oh, holy shit, this is cool. So, get out of there! Let me stop babbling because I've only got one good battery right now. The others are charging. So here goes part of the basement that's done, you know, pretty much done, and the trick shop. Check this out. So, here are some of my pinball machines set up. And here, my friends, is my vintage trick shop. The more you look, the cooler it gets, okay? That I will say. And before we dig in, I'm going to show you where this is in this basement in relations to the mask room. Everyone knows the mask room. Everyone always thought it was this giant room in the house somewhere. That's a room in my basement, okay? That goes up to where we live. This, though, check this out. This is the mask room, okay? Which is still kind of clean, but that's all for a whole nother episode. Exit the mask room, boom, you're in this part of the basement. I'm not going to show you the rest yet. That's a whole different story, but on this wall, you've got my really neat case of just cool monster stuff. I might as well start here at the top because we're going to work our way down and end up at the trick shop or over here. These are very, very special. Of course, a lot of you will recognize these model kits. Yes, these are Billiken models from the 80s, dated 1984 or so. Those are all Screamin' model kits. But these were all Frank's from the Frankenshrine. He sent each and every one of these out to have them professionally painted. And the crazy thing about the Screamin' kits, he sent them to the guy that painted the Screamin' box model kits. So the model kits on the Screamin' boxes that they photographed, I believe it was the owner of Screamin's nephew that painted all those. I'm sorry to say I heard a tragic story about this man. Something happened somehow, and I believe he's no longer with us. But that is exactly who painted these models. At least the Screamin' kits, okay? Frank had other guys in New York that he would send other model kits to, like the Billikens. But you'll see, these are really, really cool. I painted the Butterball. That one's my old one from high school. But I think we'll have to do a dedicated video to these and take them all down later and really get into showing the details on those Screamin' kits, because they're quite special. I don't know if that gentleman painted any other Screamin' kits for anyone else, but those are definitely painted by him. I have his name somewhere. We should do a whole dedicated thing to that. So back to this. This is kind of you know, I've got so many more Auroras that I'm going to be restoring that are going to end up out here later, but this is really quick. This is a mixture of a lot of the models I showed you in the previous episode, where I showed you Dwayne's Haunted Mansion models and the little monster scenes that he painted up. There's also some pieces I bought in auction here that were just really nice built up models I bought at a monster auction. But you can see all my goofy little stuff here in this case. You know what that is if you watch my videos. That's going to the guy in about a week to start trying to fix it. I just talked to him yesterday. That's my Remco kit I opened on Christmas in 1982. I've kept it my whole life. Isn't that nuts? Loose figures are the ones I played with when I was a kid. So just a quick look in that case. On to probably one of my favorite things I've ever done in my life, which is crazy to say. I've done a lot of stuff, but this trick shop really, really means a lot to me. I've got original Adams signs and advertising things, especially upstairs. I got way more stuff from Adams, real deal things from their factory. But I started acquiring different gags and novelties over the years, and I would see like little lots on eBay, like, you know, different lots. Like there'd be a lot of 5 rubber dog poos or you know, different x-ray glasses in the packages. There'd be like 2 or 3 at a time. So I started buying these lots of them, thinking someday it would be really cool to make a trick shop wall, like a display wall out of an old, you know, trick shop, costume shop. And it has to look old, okay? When I was a kid, I would go to these places. The main one for me was Wayne's Trick Shop in Hammond, Indiana. Good old downtown Hammond. There was Chuck's House of Magic in Homewood, Illinois. There was all kinds of great places, but like when I was a little kid, like in the 70s and 80s, we'd go into these places and they were already old, meaning these stores could have been from the 40s and 50s, okay? So me walking in there in the 70s and 80s, everything was like old wooden cases and glass shelves and glass doors, and there'd be little gags and stuff. You could tell that were in little cupboards and stuff for decades, covered with dust, and it just made it that much cooler. It's not like walking in a Target where everything's brand new and you're just in this stupid store. It was way more, there was way more character to these places. So that's what I really wanted to emulate when I did this trick shop display. I wanted this to look quite vintage. So I started collecting plastic Van Damme masks. The company's name is Van Damme, has nothing to do with Jean-Claude, but these, I wanted the weirdest masks. Get out of here! I wanted the weirdest you know, basic plastic masks I could find specifically for this display. So I started to accumulate just these strange masks, you know, that would look like something you'd see in old black and white costume shop photos. And God damn it. Hey, get out of there. Gotta play with the beaded curtain. I originally had a guy build a wooden structure that was going on this wall. You know, I started doing projects with a friend of mine. Turns out he wasn't the greatest carpenter he said he was. And he would build things and I'd be like, all right, well, this is for my home. And he built this contraption. I kind of decided, like, I don't know if I really want to use it. I start looking on Marketplace for vintage wooden cases and glass shelves, and this thing pops up on Marketplace 30 minutes from my house. This is 5 feet long. It's over 4 feet tall. Had all these glass shelves with it. And I'm like, holy shit, this is it. It fits perfectly on this wall. As soon as I saw it, got the measurements from the guy, I got my friend's truck, we ran and got this thing. And I'm like, this is it. Now I can start planning out the rest of this wall. I started mounting pegboard all on the sides and on both sides of this awesome print. This, my good friend Pete at Devil's Workshop made me that print years ago. And I said, man, it looks perfect with what's going on here. It just fits the whole feel of what I'm going after. So that went up on the wall, and I got my pegboards up, and I started unpacking all this stuff. As soon as I hung those up, I started going nuts in my mind, like so excited, because it started looking, the more I'd hang up and put, you know, in this crazy order like this, the more it just took me back to being a little kid in these amazing magical places. And like I said, I kept hanging stuff up, making sure it all fit like this. And friends of mine that have seen this, they're like, this is crazy. It looks so authentic, you know? And there was everything was not nice and neat, okay? Not like going to a drugstore where everything was hung perfect. It was just a crazy mess at these places. You know, you got guys, old guys smoking cigarettes, probably having stag parties at night with their buddies, putting these things together for kids to buy. They didn't care. They were just slapping it all up, you know? And that's exactly what I did. I had a couple stag parties too, just to make sure this was really authentic. But people are probably like, young guys are like, what's a stag party? So I tell you, in the middle of setting this up, I take a trip to the Franken Shrine. Frank's brother and I are digging through his attic, and I find stuff like this, okay? This amazing display of eyeballs, okay? I find the flashlights, the Halloween flashlights, amongst other stuff, and I'm like, I told his brother, I go, this fits exactly into what I'm doing right now. It's like Frank knew, get out of here! It's like Frank knew I was working on this and goes, look in that little box over there. It was almost as if Frank was there knowing what I was doing once again and said, hey, why don't you look inside that little box there, because you're gonna go nuts when you open it. So over the years I started purchasing lots, meaning several things of one item. You know, as many of the rubber fake puke and vomits I could get, the buggy ice cubes, I wanted the same thing, like several on the same card, so it looks like a display in a store, you know, not just one thing. And then I started running across things like this. This is an original, you know, Adams snake comes out of the can, mixed nut display, which is quite rare. I don't think I've ever seen another one. That probably popped up on eBay about 4 years ago, and I just started, then I got deep into this. I'm like, I need more. I need snapping gum. Sure, I'll take the whole thing. The funny eyes. And this stuff isn't, you know, guys that have this stuff ask quite a bit of money for it. It's not like this stuff is dirt cheap. Back in the 80s and 90s, this stuff was going for nothing, you know, and that's, I should have bought more when I could have. Uh-oh, that pinball machine's acting up. Of course, a lot of this is self-explanatory. You got your amputated finger, you got your funny eyes, you got your Mexican jumping beans, okay? But we'll go down here and take a better look at what's going on in these glass cases, because there's some really cool stuff. You know, you could still buy this stuff today, but it doesn't look like it used to. You know, look at these old, these are like 1940s, I believe. The rubber dog poo came in these old boxes, you know, and I think this is fascinating. Of course, I wasn't born in the 40s, but I learned to appreciate old stuff at a very young age because of my dad. Blech. And to me, walking in those old trick shops and seeing old things, they still have old product like that. You know, mostly like 1950s stuff was floating around 1960s. Like these same buggy ice cube displays, I remember seeing those as a kid. And it just makes it that much cooler. Because it's the old packaging, and that's what I really started to collect when going after this stuff. Of course, I love coffin banks. I've got several of these in the boxes. I figured I'd put them in the display, but this was mostly about the gags and the jokes. And there's so many different types of fake ice cubes. There's different types of rubber dog poo. Fake blood, of course, there's several, but this here is one of the best pieces in this whole display. That is the original 1971 Imagineering Inc. Vampire Blood. The real deal, first one on the card. And a funny story about this, not funny because I had to pay a fortune for it, but I was bidding against Tesco V from the Meat Men in the same room, you know, and I didn't even realize it was him. I remember walking by him in this little country monster auction, you know, and I seen this older guy just chilling by this wall, and I'm like, I gave him a nod, like, what's up, man? And I could tell he was a monster guy. I think he had some cool jacket on or something. Not even realizing it was Tesco V, who has one of the greatest monster collections of all time when it comes to monster toys and models, and holy shit. He actually invited me to come see his stuff. I have to do that. We got to make a video doing that. He and I were bidding against each other on things like this, and let's just say, if you guys out there have stuff like this, I will pay you very well if you come up with things like this for this display. You'd be surprised at what some of this stuff can bring. On the other hand, a lot of it is cheap crap, so don't think everything's going to be worth a ton of money. But you know, if you had original X-ray specs in the packages like that, I would pay good money for things like that. But on the most part, a lot of it's pretty cheap. These here were an awesome score. These original 1965 Franco Monster Fangs. I ended up getting like a dozen of these at one point, all in the boxes, brand new. Look at that cool font on there. Isn't that awesome? Sold off some, traded some, and kept a good portion of them for this display. Like, that was one of the coolest things I think I've ever found for this display, were those fangs. You got original hand buzzers in the old boxes like this. Like, this is super old. This has to be 1950s, you know, early 50s. I have a buzzer, which is said to be the first one from like 1936, I think. You never know. People say things in auctions, but it certainly looks like the first one ever made. These are great little mummy King Tut magic tricks. Those of you out there may know exactly what that is. I don't have one open to show you what it does, but look at here. This is the fake ink blot. It's actually a piece of metal, but it looks like you spilled ink on someone's nice documents or their desk. All in the original boxes, all this stuff. Vintage tins of cigarette loads. I got a bunch on the card up there. This stuff, to me, I guess I skipped over the whole part of why I love this so much. Like many of you guys out there, when you looked in the back of the comic books, you've seen those ads. And I'm going to show you pictures of these ads because you're all going to be familiar with them. To me, they were like, it was like looking into To me, those ads were like looking into the Twilight Zone or something. Some weird, you see these weird little black and white illustrations of just the guy looking through the x-ray specs, and you'd see his bones through his hands. And you're like, wow, x-ray specs, can you really see through your hand? No, but there was so much magic behind that, you know, and wonder. And you're mailing off to this weird place where this weird stuff comes from. And this stuff to me is just as important as the masks in that room over there. This was a major part of my childhood, and I wanted it all so bad. You know, when you go to a trick shop, you're lucky to get a couple things from your parents buying you something, but you know, when you're a kid, unless you're cutting grass and having paper routes, you didn't have too much money, you know. So of course I wanted all of it, and I just could not afford it, or I'd only be able to buy one piece at a time. As you can see here, I started to go overboard collecting this stuff. The imitation butter, the rattle box. I actually have rattlesnake packages too, with the rattlesnake eggs that make the noise with the rubber band. These are just trick candles. I just love the old packaging on it, so I figured I'd throw it up here on the wall. But I mean, I have to think that there's going to be a lot of you commenting on how special this stuff was to you as well as a kid. Probably the most well-known gag of all time next to rubber dog poo is the whoopee cushion. Fake puke, of course, but I think whoopee cushion, rubber dog crap take the cake. But this is all cool stuff that I had to, I just could not wait to get on display. Back down here, we got these great candles. How many of you remember the Girly Company candles? G-U-R-L-E-Y? Is it G-U-R? Oh, this is SUNY Candle Division. This one's a Girly or Girly. Yeah, Girly. They melt like blood, you know. The hand would melt and there would be a plastic skeleton hand still in there underneath this candle. How cool is that? I have another one of these upstairs too, but yeah, you melt, you light the candle, the fingers burn down, and what do you want? And hi. Aw. And there's a skeleton hand in place when all of it melts away. These things, I always love these, seeing these at trick shops, and they have like a Pepsi can with the fake pop. Always wanted them. Don't think, maybe I had one when I was a kid, but just love those. I got the fake coffee cup, you know. These actually move around on the saucers and shake, like you're bringing somebody who could shake like you're gonna drop it on them. Hot coffee in their lap. Got the severed hands. Lots of different variations of the snake in the can that flies out. Here's a really old Adams mixed nuts can. Look at that one. It was so funny. I was like slowly setting stuff up on the top here, unpacking things, and one of these shot out of the can. Scared the shit out of me. I cracked up laughing. Look at that. What do you want? What are you doing? I'm filming, man. My mustache. You're so good. Bag of laughs. Who could forget that? The face. So I might as well touch on these really quick. Back in like 1980, when I was a little kid, we went into Wayne's Trick Shop, and I seen these up on the shelf. What? And we're like, what is that? And the guy took it down and showed us, and they were actual masks, Halloween masks that you would paint, and you'd paint them up and apply them to your face with spirit gum. And they came, I might as well take it out and show you. So look at this. You have this is an unfinished, it's like a foam mask. See how thin this is? You trim it. I think it maybe I was pre-trimmed, or you trim it out and you literally paint the foam mask with the details. They they give you this little paint set, real cheesy little paint set. They would give you sticky goo. Ooh, that's cool. Sticky goop, or mine came with a little glass tube of spirit gum, I think. Instruction sheet. All right. But as you can see here, you would paint these, and it was movable with your face. So the jaw would go on your, lower jaw and move with your mouth when you talked. And once it was painted, you would stick it to your face. And I have photos of at least my brother wearing the skull when he used it the following year. But man, I can remember using this cheesy little brush, get out of here, and going over those veins, I mean, like it was yesterday. Right? What are you doing? You are nuts. Did you just get that all over the lens? So, I started buying up some of these in the boxes, and I just had to put them in the trick shop display. Stink bombs, of course. I got 2 different kinds here. Again, if any of you out there used to work at an old trick shop, owned old trick shops, and have this type of stuff packed away, of course I would love to buy it, and I will add it to my display. Here's another old doggone it. This is the box for the rubber dog do up there. And the cool thing is, this is an old 1940s box. Could be late 30s, early 40s box. But they used the same artwork. Adams used it on their later release from like the 70s or 80s. Same dog. Isn't that cool? So, look at it, since 1906. I just think this stuff is fascinating. And the sad thing, of course, I always say this, but the sad part of it is kids today are never going to know that feeling of walking into something like this. They always go to Target and places like that, and it's just like dead to me. Going in these new stores, going through the toy aisles, you'll never get the feeling you did like going through an old costume shop or trick shop. So this, I had to do this, and I wanted my daughter to see it, and so I wanted to say, this is what I loved as a child, and she looks at it like, what the hell is this? She looked at it and thought I was kind of crazy, but she really started staring at stuff, like she'd go, well, what is this? And I'd say, look at, you can fake out your friends like you got a razor blade stuck in your hand. And then she started to understand what this was all about. Like, this is all gags, funny stuff. And of course, some of it looks so fake that most people with half a brain would not believe it. But it was, the thrill of it was ordering it or trying to go find it at a shop after seeing it in the comic book. I remember my little brother and I looking at a whole ad in one of his comic books, and we got this little piece of paper, and we had we had like $9 in change saved up between the two of us. We were really little, and we wrote down all these little things like this, that we can order, hand buzzers and stuff. And it took us hours, because we're adding it up, we're trying to figure out who gets what, and we bring this pile of change to our mother in this little list, and we're like, we did it. Can you send this into this place? We don't know where it's coming from, but we got to get the stuff, and she just looks at it and she goes, no, like, go do your chores. And then we were just crushed. So our dumbasses didn't know you could take that pile of change, go down to the corner store and get a money order and then mail it in with a stamp. We weren't that smart as children, but now everything is a click away, isn't it? So anyway, this whole thing I thought deserved its own video, because it's definitely something that holds a real special place in my heart to me, from my childhood. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to agree that you remember either going into trick shops And I know you absolutely would see those ads in the back of the comic books and want all of this crazy stuff. And it was always that little picture, that little black and white picture that did it. You'd see this little illustration like, oh man, I would love to put an ice cube with bugs in it in my aunt's cocktail. You know, it was just that the thought of that, like, oh my God, it'd be the funniest thing in the whole world. And of course they look so it looks so fake, you know, but I'm sure it worked on someone out there. Imitation fly lapel pin. Looks real, so you can have a fly on your suit when you're walking around all day. Got several ice cubes with nails in them and wire clips and things, you know. I've actually got some really, really old stuff though. Let's take a look at these. So these are some items I paid more than usual for. This old Chesterfield cigarettes thing here. I imagine this could be, I'd have to look at the style of the cigarette box. This could be 1930s or 1940s. And this clown, how does this work? In this cigarette pack, and you can close it, and it is activated where he pops out and scares the person that wanted to smoke. Just a cool old, it's a tin box. I mean, this is really neat. So this one is delicate, and I can only do this, you need two hands for this gag, but you give someone a pack of matches, they open it, and the matches fly out. They're spring loaded. That's a really, really old one there. Still has its matches inside of it, which is so cool. The little mechanism that flies out. Oh, this is the box for this one. And I guess it just bounces around and scares someone. So, insert key, hold thumb over opening while winding up, place matchbox on table face up. It just shakes, I guess. It's like a vibrating box of matches. You pick it up and it just starts shaking like crazy and scares you. Like it's a crazy loaded pack of matches. But I just think these are so neat because they're so damn old. I've got some other great things I'm going to show you, like some bigger displays with trick matches. I've got several trick matches. Some explode, like bang matches, scare the crap out of people. But let me go and get some things out of the back special spooky room there to show you more really neat gag displays that are very old. Okay, here's some really neat stuff. Here is a original store display, bamboozle matches. So this was a old, probably 1930s, 1940s, look at, they're 10 cents each. Exploding matches, bang matches, they all do different things. There's snake matches, so tempting to mess with some of these. Smoke screen matches, just, that's so cool. Get out of there! Some of these things can sell for like 800 bucks on eBay. I got a killer deal on that one. Here's more stinky loads for cigarettes. It makes the room smell. Here's one that makes them taste horrible. What the f? Get out of there! Cats. Sorry, I had to pull the ball back. Foaming sugar joke. I actually got extra boxes on eBay so I can finish this card and glue them on there so it'll be a full card again. I got a bloody mess. This is soap that just gets blood all over your hands. Here's an original vintage Adams display sign for the store. Cardboard, which is really cool. Here is worms in people's drinks. You put these little things in a glass of water and it makes worms appear. Fake whiskey joke. Fool your friends. Highballs on the rocks. Straight whiskey. Absolutely harmless. Got all kinds of signs like this. I've got Adams catalogs, old catalogs that show all these little vintage things too. And my battery's running low. So there's something really special I want to show you that's Addams related that you probably have never seen before. Let me run upstairs and get it because I have to include it in this video before we call it quits here. So hang tight. All right, now this is quite special. I actually paid a pretty penny for what you're about to see. This is a set of 36 color display cards for dealer windows or counter displays. Like if you had a trick shop, you know, or a costume shop and you sold gags and novelties, this was a package of these little illustrated cards, okay? Check this out. 36 original from the Addams Company, and these only went to dealers, you know, so they put these in their stores in different spots. And I just thought they were so cool because, like I was saying, those little illustrations were everything. When you were a kid, you know, of course you'd read the little caption, but seeing the picture of, you know, people laughing and goofy stuff like that, that's what really did it for me. Seeing people using a rubber pencil, I thought it was so funny when I was little. And here is the greatest, the greatest one of all that so many of you will remember. The old lady, like at the dinner party, sitting on the whoopee cushion. Here, this is so old, they called it the raspberry cushion. And I think this predates them using the term a Bronx cheer. Remember, they would say it lets out a Bronx cheer, which is so funny. This predates that, but it's got Barack, her farting, and look at those guys back there laughing their asses off. I mean, that is, I should tattoo that right on my arm. I love it. So I just had to share this with you. Some are magic tricks, but this is the entire set of the 36 cards. And what the cool thing is, it says set number 1, another set will follow. I met a guy who actually got the original contents of, or the contents of the original Addams warehouse. And that's where this came from, and some of those signs. I could not believe it. He sold me a bunch of things, but that is right from the Addams warehouse. These vintage cards, which are just so damn cool. So I hope you guys like my little trip down memory lane. This trick shop display really is important to me. I think I've said it a million times online that I was doing this, but it's up and it's on display, and everyone that has seen it online just goes crazy over it. They love it. So I could not wait to do a YouTube video on this. And like I said, I never even got into my rubber skeletons. I got a bunch of rubber skeletons. I love vintage rubber skeletons. These are 3 of the same kind. Store stock. I've got a bunch of the nice colorful ones with the rubber band, the jigglers. I'm a buyer of any of this stuff. Gags, novelties, jokes, some magic tricks. Not, you know, that would require a whole nother wall, and it's just as important as this stuff, but gags and novelties, find me. I will buy them, especially if they're cool store displays like this. Some guys have this stuff on eBay, rotting away, trying to get 800 bucks for something like that. I'm not going to pay those stupid prices. So if you're realistic and you really want to sell your stuff, let's talk. Other than that, look for another mask video coming up, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I'm getting back into the I'm getting back into the YouTube mode here. October's right around the corner. Will I be doing another 31 days of Halloween? That remains to be seen, but I'm going to be doing a lot of shit. I cannot end this video without talking about my amazing witch. Really fast, before this battery dies. My buddy Mikey Seaver. I used to call him Mikey Sevier. Seaver. He's a mask maker. I'm going to put his name on the screen. This thing was at Mask Fest, sitting on the table. I walk by and I see this crazy witch head with this hat sitting on the table. It had no body to it. And it stopped me in my tracks. Number 1, because it's a witch with this amazing hat he made. Number 2, it reminds me of vintage Topstone. That was the feel Mikey wanted when he sculpted her. He wanted that Topstone look. And number 3, it's the colors of Halloween. When I saw that, I go, I've got to incorporate her into my trick shop somehow. Found a mannequin down here, put that black tablecloth over this thing, and I got myself a witch. And she is welcoming you into the trick shop. So again, thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for following the channel. Show your friends. Lots more stuff to come. And if you like monster masks, tons of videos on the way. All right, I'll see you guys soon.